Okay, 3DMJers, so first off, my apologies for not getting these last couple Q&As out sooner. I suck, I apologize. But in my defense, this is my second take on this Q&A, and I did that because the first one was way too long, and I got way too in-depth and confusing on this last question right here, so I'm going to try to consolidate here a little bit, make things a little bit clearer, and hopefully this take will be better than the last take. So these are the three big questions that were on the training, periodization, and progression video. There are a couple other, comments on there, basically regarding my poor choice in filming equipment. So hopefully this one's a little bit better. I put my phone on the highest quality setting that I could get, and hopefully it's a little bit better quality. But again, I really try to focus on getting good content frequently out, as opposed to waiting until I can afford to get high quality video equipment. So first of all, do secondary lifts follow the same periodization and progression plan? And so yes and no. Okay, so let's first of all talk about periodization. It's kind of, you can follow it, but it's hard to do like heavy side lateral raises and then light-ish side lateral raises. So I mean, you can follow that, but is it really necessary? I don't think so. I think you're going to progress just as well, and your time is better well spent doing the compound movements in a periodization, like overhead presses for deltoids, push presses, things like that. So I mean, it's probably a little bit easier to do it for things like maybe cheater barbell curls. You can do heavy cheater barbell curls earlier in the week, and then your lighter stuff at the end of the week. But again, I think it's kind of it's going to speed your progress from like 71 miles an hour as opposed to 70 miles an hour. If you can afford to do that and keep that kind of volume up for a really, really, really long time, obviously it's going to pay off. But most of us don't have that kind of that kind of time available to us all the time. And then also with the progression scheme, when it comes to those types of muscles, isolation type movements like that, biceps, triceps, quadriceps on the leg extensions, leg curls, etc. Really the important part is that you do them. You know what I mean? It's not really as critical that you track them and make them progress, especially as far as like tonnage, taking, total reps times your load, And if you do progress, you can almost do it in a more of a progression in like monthly, blocks of progression, where like, maybe you'll do 36 repetitions with the 35-pound dumbbells for an entire month. And then, progress, if you wanted to progress intensity, go to 40-pound dumbbells and try to progress, maybe you have to back off the volume to doing like a total of 30 repetitions with the 40s, and then do that for an entire month. And then maybe progress, on the reps and set side of it, more the volume side of it, and keep doing the 40s, but maybe instead of doing 30s, maybe for a month, every training session, do 36 repetitions, 3 sets of 12 with the 40s. And then maybe do that for a month, and then the following month do, 45 repetitions, doing 3 sets of 15, with the 45s. You could just about just track your repetitions, just keep the same dumbbells, and every month, bump the repetitions up. Like I just mentioned, instead of doing 3 sets of 15, do 4 sets of 15. It's just more important to kind of make sure that you're hitting those muscles, kind of like the finishers. But as long as you're progressing in your big lifts, rest assured your arms are going to get bigger, the legs are going to get bigger. You're going to be adding strength and muscle as long as you're finish them using those accessory movements, the secondary lifts. Okay. Hopefully that answers that question. Isn't it a bad idea to drop that much volume, especially in a caloric deficit? Won't you lose muscle? So first of all, let's kind of visit, why do we do weight training really at all, much less when we're dieting, okay? It's still to build and maintain muscle. So especially when you're dieting, you still want to plan to progress, especially with the athlete that's been or has like 15, 20, 25 years in the gym. You still want to plan to progress because the stimulus of weight training is what tells your body, no, you can't burn muscle. You can't lose muscle because we're training with weights. And I don't care if you're in a deficit. We got to keep it. We got to at least keep it. Okay, that's the whole purpose of it. So, let me digress a little bit. You know, the longer you train, the more your body is used to the stimulus of training, so the harder it is to progress. However, on the flip side, the positive thing, even though it's hard to progress, the good thing is that you can afford to drop volume for a short period of time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. Your body's really not even going to know the difference. What you don't want to do is you don't want to have this dwindling, trend over the course of 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, dwindling volume. Okay, that's what's going to cause you to drop strength, and therefore muscle, especially in the advanced weight trainer, the intermediate to advanced weight trainer. And I speak from experience because I've done that in the past, being that my history is such that I'm very focused on progressing through intensity, through increasing loads on the bar. I kept trying to go up in my weight, and sometimes just keep the weight the same when I couldn't keep up the volume. But still, what ended up happening when you looked at, like weeks and months of training data, sure, the intensity was going up, but what ended up happening is I was focused so much on that, my volume ended up dwindling down to where I was doing 11,000 pounds, on a push workout. It dwindled down to 3,000 pounds. Okay, you can tell that's a quarter of the volume, and that's what's going to cause the strength and muscle loss, regardless of what was happening on the intensity side. So you can afford to get away with a drop in volume for a short period of time. Your body's not really going to miss it, as long as you have a plan to progress and get that volume back up again. Even in a caloric deficit, a short period of time, it's not going to hurt you at all, okay? But just remember, the stimulus is still there. You still got to keep it there. You can't just stop, You still got to keep the stimulus there to keep that muscle, okay? This final question right here, basically the question was, what are your thoughts on legendary powerlifters like Ed Cohen and linear periodization? I'm going to save that for part 2 of this video, because that took me a while in my last take and took up a ton of time, and I really want to keep these videos short, about 8 to 10 minutes, and we're going to touch on that in the next video. But I do want to say it in closing, linear periodization, linear progression, if a person can progress linearly, and periodize linearly, that's the end-all be-all. That is the perfect program, okay? However, can we just, progress linearly forever? Not very likely. If a person adds 20 pounds to their bench press, say in their first, 2 months of training, think about that when you extend that over the course of, a year, okay? 20 pounds the first 2 months, that's going to be 40 pounds in the second 2 months, so that's 4 months. Then you're looking at 6 months, 80 pounds. If you're at a 200-pound bench press, your bench press has gone from 200 to 280 pounds in half a year. Let's look at the last half of the year. There's another 80 pounds in the last half of the year. Your bench press in 1 year went from 200 to what? 280, 360 pounds? Now let's go to the next year. That bench press went from 360 all the way up to 520, okay? Obviously, that's the perfect way to go. How many people can realistically do that, though? Not very much. And so that's what I'm going to touch on in part 2 is, different ways of progression and resetting. And then again, I guess I'll close by saying, I probably just need to do a little bit of research before I start trying to answer this question, because I really don't have any idea how guys like Ed Cohen progressed and did their periodizing of training. And so that's the other reason I really want to make sure that I do this in 2 parts. So I'll leave it there. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again for the great comments. Thanks for motivating me to keep putting these kind of videos out. And until next time, thanks a lot.